crashed it 11 times in 1 year.
I would never have believed in 15 years we won over 50 awards.
Hi, I'm Tim. This is Howden Originals, where we're touring around the UK chatting to motor traders and classic car collectors. Today, I'm joined by Jim Stokes from Jim Stokes Workshop. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
That's all right, no problem.
So where do you want to start? I mean, there's so much to talk about.
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. I suppose how I got into the industry in the first place is probably a good place to come from.
Yep.
My parents moved down to this part of the country when I was 17, and I needed to go and get a job. And I came across a company that basically the owner had 14 racing cars in his collection and was looking for a hopeful lad that would be able to help with them. So I went to work for this particular guy, and we had the most amazing collection of cars. Everything from 250LM Ferraris, short wheelbases, Daytonas, Lola T70s, Chevron B8s, M99 McLarens, everything. So my apprenticeship as such was actually done with people like Grey Paul Motors, going to Aston Martin, the factory, and doing things like that. So it was a brilliant grounding, into getting into this industry. And ultimately, the last 2 years that I was there for 11 years, the boss never came motor racing. So I used to run the cars. We had a Formula One transporter. We had people like Jerry Marshall driving for us and things like that, which was fantastic. And we raced all over the UK and into Europe as well.
So was there any guidance on that, or you just found your way?
I found my way. It was a really fantastic way to start in the industry, to be honest.
That's fantastic. So how do we end up then getting to Jim Stokes Workshop?
Well, in 1981, I started my own business when he stopped motor racing. And the very first job I did as a self-employed person running my own little outfit was a V16 BRM engine for Bewley. And if you're going to start, you might as well start with something fairly complicated.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
And it snowballed from there. And I used to subcontract for a couple of other restorers. I used to run cars at race meetings for people, and I actually mechanicked at Le Mans 7 years running for people like Aston Martin with the Nimrods at the beginning, and Chris Crawford ADA with the Gebhardt, which we actually won C2 and came 8th overall in 1986.
Wow.
Which, as a little tiny team, was brilliant. But at that point, I really had got to the situation where I couldn't do it all because I was running my business, restoring historic race cars and things like that. And then I'd get a phone call to say, we're doing a 1,000k race in Fuji, be at the airport on Thursday, we're going to Japan for the weekend. And I'd go and do that. But it got to a point where I couldn't do any more of that, and I had to concentrate on running my business.
And of those early events then, what was the kind of standout event? These events are totally different now, they're very commercial, but
totally,
what?
Yeah. I mean, Le Mans was phenomenal to do, and get involved with the camaraderie of doing that. But doing the historic events and getting involved in doing the Mille Miglia, back in the 80s and stuff like that, where it was a much nicer event than it is now.
Yeah.
And all the support vehicles used to get to drive exactly the same course as the cars did. And I did, I think in 1984, I did get actually to co-drive, actually doing it in a Maserati as well, which was fun. But it's been an interesting journey.
So now Jim Stokes Workshops, obviously it's built massively. How have you got to where you are now in terms of the current state of play? How's it evolved quickly?
It's basically, as the company has got bigger and bigger, from the 80s, where we were doing everything under one roof in respect of the machining work and things like that, but we didn't encompass as much as we do now, obviously. As the company grew larger, we decided that probably the easiest way to control it was to actually break it up into separate modules, so that we have basically our machine shop, which is Triple M, which is standalone cost centre, as is the main JSW part of the group here. And then we have our classics division, where we deal with cars that we wouldn't normally deal with in this department. And then we have our body shop, which is South Shore. and that is where we do all our aluminium bodywork or our chassis fabrications or anything like that. But each one of them is a standalone company, so that I can see whether or not they're working financially.
Obviously, this industry is predominantly a certain age group of people that might work for you. What are you doing to keep this going and interesting and relevant? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, we actually do have a system of apprentices. We have apprentices in every department throughout the company, and using heritage skills as well as our own on-site training. That works very well, and we've taken that through for quite a lot of years now. So we have got some of my apprentices are still here after they finish their apprenticeship, more than 10 years on. One of them 20.
That's fantastic. So I mean, the ultimate then would be to have those people stay with you, and then their kids come and be apprentices as well.
There you go. That would be the way forward. But we're structuring the company in such a way that we are planning for the future. And those people, those apprentices and now not apprentices, are actually foremost in my thoughts on how we can actually take the company forward, irrespective of how long I'm able to be here, although I'm not planning on retiring.
No, good. But I mean, well, you're only, what, 25,
I wish
26?
I was. Yeah.
And you touched about apprentices as well. It's not just youngsters. You know, you could have people of a certain age that might be, you know, disillusioned with where they're going. You know,
yeah,
I'm assuming apprentices can be any age.
Yeah, that's right, we do. In fact, we have a guy in our body shop who's come to us, and he's 30, and he's basically going back as being an apprentice again. So
there's hope for Joe behind the lens, because Joe's quite picky about a lot of things. Maybe that would work for Joe, but we'll have a chat with him.
We might draw a line.
No, that's fair enough. So this workshop is epic, and there's quite a nice car immediately behind you.
Yeah.
You've had a chat with me about Goodwood before we started interviewing.
Sure.
Can you tell me a bit about this? And
this is a 158 Alpha, and the saga of JSW, myself being involved with the 158 Alpha is a longish one, but a really interesting scenario, because we are known for doing a lot of Alfa Romeos over the years, and that is just something that we've grown into. What happens quite often is with the customers, when they have a collection of cars, they tend to, if they have a restorer that they like, they tend to send the cars always to the same people. And luckily we are that kind of setup. So we started getting a lot of Alfa Romeos, and we started making parts for Alfa Romeos, and then you realise that actually we're making so many parts we can make bigger bits like engines, gearboxes, axles, and that sort of snowballed. And the 158 scenario was a little bit like that, because I'd been working on a customer's, he had 2900 Alphas and 8C 2.3s, very high-end cars, but then he wanted to get a 158 Alpha because there were none of those in private hands in the world. So he offered to the factory the Le Mans Coupe from 1938, which he owned, and he was quite happy to swap that, which is the most awesome car, for a part-built 158 Alpha. So I had to go to the factory, and we went to Portello as well, and the deal was done to swap the car, and the parts for the 158 came to us for us to rebuild the car. And this was a car that we took on in 1986, which we did and completed in 89. We went and tested the car at Monza with Mike Sparkin, the owner of the car, driving it. Then we went to Clermont-Ferrand and we had lunch with Fangio and all those kind of things.
Sounds
which
awful.
are, you know, it's just brilliant. Anyway, that car, when we'd finished it, it changed hands a couple of times, and quite a while ago now, it was sold. The owner of the car didn't know where the car went. So that was the only 158 there was available for anyone to see. Consequently, about 12 years ago, I got 2 phone calls on the same day saying, we know where there's a big cache of 158 Alpha parts that could be bought, but you're the only person who's ever dealt with one of these cars. You know, perhaps you should find out about it. And one of the guys was Doug Nye, actually, who told me. Doug didn't actually know that I followed it up. So what actually happened was, it's a rather strange story, and I won't go into all of it because it was a little bit underhand. But We had to find a way of sort of paying for them with a wheelbarrow full of euros, because they only wanted cash. And in England, you can't get euros without your passport, not that kind of money. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we managed to do it with the contacts on the continent, and he drove down with a car on his transporter to buy these parts. The money was stuffed inside the car and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we picked the parts up, brought them all back to the UK. This was pre-Brexit, thank God, so he could come through the tunnel and just deliver all the parts to us.
Yeah.
The only part we didn't have to make the car complete was the crankcase, the basemento. But what had happened when I built the first car, because when I was inspecting the first car back in Portello in '86, I didn't like the look of the engine. So I said to Mike, this isn't very nice. And he said, okay, and he was talking to the curator of the Alfa Romeo Museum, who just turned around and threw a cover off another complete engine and said, yeah, you better take this one too. So we had two engines. So what happened then was I built the first engine up so that it was perfect, and then I had enough to build a display engine, which stayed with the car for a while, but when the car was sold, that went a different direction. That went around the world and ended up with Lord Bamford, JCB.
Right.
Luckily, he's one of our customers, and I phoned him up and asked him if I could possibly buy that engine. And after a little horse trading, he was a very fair man.
Did you get mates rates on that?
How do you make a billionaire an offer?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah.
But he was very fair, and we managed to buy the engine. So then we could. Then we had all the parts we needed to build this second 158, this car here. Then the next thing was I've spent all my working capital buying it. I need a customer who's dead keen for it. One of my people I knew had been trying to buy the other car, never managed it, and I just sent him a one-line email. If I could build you a 158, what would you say? And it came back yes. Wow. So we built a car, and this is the car behind us. Unfortunately, that has changed hands since then, but the current owner, Peter Greenfield, a lovely guy from New York, 82 years old, was clocked at just under 140 miles an hour at Goodwood last weekend in this car.
The weather at Goodwood was pretty horrific.
He also managed to take out one of the cameras when he spun it twice.
Excellent, excellent. And what goes into having that ready for Goodwood and the support while you're there?
This particular car is quite a thoroughbred. It's 425 horsepower from 1.5 litres. It's running 3.2 bars of supercharger pressure, which is 50 odd pounds. It runs 2 miles to the gallon on methanol. It's capable of 190 miles an hour, but to look after it it's quite a delicate vehicle. Originally, they only were lifed at 5 hours between engine rebuilds. After we ran the first car and we broke a valve stem, I redesigned the internals for the cylinder head. It's a monoblock, so there's no head gasket. And that car then ran for something like 17 years without actually having a massive engine rebuild. So I think just about got that right. And we've incorporated the same modifications into this engine, to exactly the same. But yes, you have to be very careful with the supercharging, the lubrication, and it's not something that you can just jump in and turn the key.
No, it's just amazing car. There's a lot of pride in how you talk and what you do. What's kind of your standout proud moment? I mean, obviously you've talked at length about the current car, but whether it be an apprentice, whether it be a good news story, what's made it worthwhile?
I think a lot of how we brought the apprentices on, and what the people they've turned into, for me is a very proud moment of actually being part of somebody's life like that, and what they can do. Personally, for me, I think one of the nicest things that has happened to me recently was because of the 75 years of the Grand Prix, and of course 158 Alfa with Farina was the very first car that won the Grand Prix at Silverstone. Not only did it win, it came second, third and fourth as well. And because of all the celebrations of that this year, we had this car at Silverstone. We had it under the podium. I got champagne on me.
Brilliant.
As well as Lando's car.
Yeah.
And it was my birthday as well on the same day. So that was a win-win.
Fantastic.
You know, so I think if you're looking about proud moments, that was quite a long way up there.
And you were working on your birthday, so
And I was
that's
working on my
that's always a good
birthday,
mantra,
yeah.
isn't it? That's a
And
good
I
mantra.
do. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So to replicate, you know, that proud moment, that's a career, and youngsters often just chase the money. You know, what advice, instead of chasing the money, how would you start someone? How would you encourage them to follow a career in, you know, cars?
Yeah, I mean, when I started as a one-man business, I had no intentions at all of actually growing it to where it is now. That was never part of it. But if you actually love doing something and you love engineering or you love mechanical things, which is what I've always done across the board, you know, if that's what gets you out of bed in the morning and you can start your own business and do things like that, then, you know, go for it, try it. I never expected to have a company with, at the moment, I think we have something like over 50 people, you know, but it is lovely to do it. So, advice to people wanting to do it, yeah, if you've got a passion and a love for what you do, and you realise that it's actually going to be quite hard work, still do it. I think you should have a go, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that proud moment is priceless, isn't it? So it's having the vision and having...
Yeah, that's right, because as a vehicle, excuse the pun, it's got me round the world meeting the most amazing people, doing the most amazing things. You know, getting a phone call, oh, we want you to come and look at a car. Okay, I can do that in the next couple of weeks. No, I actually want you to come tomorrow. Where is it? Connecticut. Okay, right. So one day I'm sitting in my desk upstairs or on the shop floor. Next day I'm driving out of New York to go and look at a car. You know, and meeting the people that I've met all around the world, like lunch with Fangio.
I've got to ask, is he a bacon butty kind of guy, or was he kind of...
Well, I had to ask his brother because he didn't speak English.
No.
But in actual fact, and I missed it this last weekend at Goodwood, his son was there, and he sat in that car, sat in the 158.
Fantastic.
And unfortunately, I wasn't near it when it happened, which really disappointed me.
Of course.
But still. You know.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you this morning on Howden Originals. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Cheers.
Cheers.